I said people didn't have the money them days for anything like that.
Just go to the priest. It was a little tough. He didn't want to marry us and all that stuff. She had a lot of credentials with her from the parish where she came from.
Wow.
Good.
What kind of credentials do you bring?
Well, I don't know. You have
Oh,
to
your
ask
baptismal
her.
paper. You know, I mean, you had to have all that
Russ, we thought we had it rough.
same thing, you know.
So then after you got married, did you go back to Philadelphia?
Well, we lived out there for what, about 18 months, I guess.
Oh.
So the ship, along about that time, we were getting a little testy with the Japanese, and the fleet, which I was part of on the Phoenix, went to Hawaii on maneuvers, Pearl Harbor, out in that direction, all the way around up there. When we come back, we stayed there. So I wrote Mary and told her, I said, we ain't coming back. I said, go east. So she took off.
You went back to Philadelphia, and you had staying.
That's when I went by train.
The fleet never did come back to the West Coast. Because the ship I was
In
on
those
went
days, when you traveled by train and you had a child with you, they put you in a women and children's coach, and we had a nurse there. It was nice.
Wow,
For
yeah.
today, you know, like I say, things were different them days. And she would mind your child while you went to eat your meals. And
How long did the journey take? Do you remember?
I imagine about 4 days, 4 or 5 days. You know what? I'm going in the house because I'm cold.
It's getting
I
cold.
will
The
be
sun's going
know.
down.
awake tonight. He'll tell you. I get a little stiff.
I was going to stay out there and get a job. Well, I put applications in all up and down the coast. They all said when you get discharged, come in to see us naturally. They wouldn't give you promises or anything.
Yeah.
So another fellow and I, electrician, we got paid off at the same time. And it was a funny thing. We went got our things out to the gate there, and where we got paid off at the base. And we hailed a cab. Who do you think was driving that cab?
Andy.
A chief that had been on the old four-pipe destroyer, the one that we took from the west coast to the east coast to go out of commission.
Wow.
He'd retired. He said, "What the hell are you doing here?" We recognized him. I recognized him. Montoya. He was a Mexican descent. I said, "Well, take us over to YMCA. We're going to stay there for a while and look for work." So he took us over. So in them days, right away you had to sign up for the draft. So we bummed around there for a few days, having a good time, I guess.
So you would have signed up for the draft even though you just served 4 years?
No, you had to sign up for the draft. Along about that time they were starting to draft people into the service. Well, anyway, we went down to the draft board and signed up, and they give us all this baloney. If you go out of the county, you got to notify them if you do this and do this and do that. You know, there's a lot of restrictions, which is a bunch of baloney. You could have left and gone up to San Francisco, didn't you? So what?
Yeah.
So what? We didn't know. We were all military, you know. Well, anyway, I looked over at Joe and I says, "Let's go east." He said, "When?" I says, "Well, let's get on the damn next train." We went down to the train station and booked and went back to the next train, and we were off. So we stopped in Detroit to visit my aunt for a while. Almost got a job or two there. We came on to Philadelphia. He was from New England. Bridgeport's Arsenal? The Arsenal up at Bridgeport?
I don't know.
Not anymore, but
There was then.
Yeah.
He went to work there and I got to work in Philadelphia. But we got together a few times after that, but corresponded back and forth. And, you know, between each correspondence they get longer and longer and longer. And
Yeah.
finally we lost contact with one another. He still could be living up there. I don't know. I haven't heard from him for years. We used to exchange Christmas cards, but that died out,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
More than likely he's dead. Of course, maybe not. Who knows?
What was his name?
Joe Weiner.
that was the guy you came east with.
Yeah. Yep, yep. We were on the ship together. Both of us like Christians. So like I say, he went to work in that arsenal up there, and at a cheap wage. And I was working for the government. I'm not really the government. The government was paying the bill in the shipyards. I started at $1 an hour, and he was making like 75 cents. And I used to kid him. I said, "Come on down."
So
But
Mary
he got
had already.
married up there and stayed there.
Yeah, my mom was
I'm
born
sure he
in
made out all
She
right.
was? So your grandma came east with your mom?
Yeah.
Ahead of.
I guess so. That makes sense.
Well, do you want to get in this, Dennis? This is one of the offsprings.
The whole situation.
Come on over and get your picture taken.
Before.
Well, let me just take a picture. This has been running for an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
Sure.
Wait, I thought, isn't there supposed to be
Your mother
someone
got
who's
told she
American
had to go
Indian? Isn't there supposed to be someone who's American Indian?
Huh?
Isn't there supposed to be someone who's American
Oh
Indian?
yeah, but that's not really documented. But you could see it in the boys a little bit. See, the first children of my father was girls.
Right.
And that woman died, so he married another woman. And that's where the Indian was supposed to be in that woman. But you could kind of see it in my father with the high cheekbones and the nose. But I don't think it was very close. Who knows? Back in those days, who knows? You know.
Could have been.
I guess we're lucky to be here, about all we had to go through back in them days. But you see, when the people first came over here and they hit the land, a lot of them stayed and worked in the big cities. The Irish, particularly, they stayed in the cities and they worked and so forth. But the Germans, when they came over, it seems as though they liked the land and they didn't stay in the big cities. They came, and the way it looked to me like they followed the streams, followed the Potomac River and up the South Branch. And how else did they get there? They had to follow water. You had to have water. So that's how I guess they got up into Pendleton County and all through West Virginia. But there's still sites of old log cabins down there, houses that were built God knows how many years ago. You can see the old stone foundations there and the cellars. Maybe you've seen some of them when you were down there.
Yep.
I don't know, you probably have.
I've never been there.
And my brother Leslie, he, about 10 years ago back, he got interested in cemeteries. And you'd be surprised what you can learn of the cemetery records of your relatives and things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Christ, he knowed that everyone was almost buried in Pendleton County in the cemeteries. You see, each family used to have, or family group, like the Judys would have their own cemetery. And the Lamberts would have their own cemetery. Very few people back in those days was buried in the big cemetery down in Franklin, which was the town. But now, everyone gets buried down there. Yeah, so they don't have no more room.
Yeah.
So some 3 or 4 people down there, or business people, they got together and they bought a lot of land out there, and they made a cemetery, private cemetery, you know. So if you're going to get buried in there, it's going to cost you more money, I guess. It's a business. Yeah, that's what it is, a business.